Hi, I'm David Mantey with Industrial Equipment News, and with me today is Alan Grau, VP of IoT with Sectigo. This is a 5-part series on quantum computing, quantum computing, and the quantum apocalypse. This is the 3rd episode. If you missed them, please go back and watch episodes 1 and 2. And if you haven't seen 4 and 5, that's because we haven't published them yet. All right, let's get started, Alan. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Thanks, David.
So, why do industrial OEMs need to act now to protect against the quantum apocalypse?
Well, really, it boils down to the fact that most industrial equipment that's being built today is going to be in the field for 5, 10, 20 years, maybe even longer. And so the date at which quantum computing has caught up to or has reached a point where it can break today's RSA and ECC encryption algorithms, we're looking at 2026, 2030, so well before those devices will have been taken out of service.
I mean, 2026, I'd like to say that seems far in the future, but that's pretty soon, man.
Yeah, no, it really is going to be here very quickly. And
okay.
Yeah,
so is that? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, there's still some question or debate on just how quickly quantum computing will have advanced to the point that it can break these encryption algorithms, in a reasonable time frame. And that's why it's not a hard and fixed date. And part of that is what's the definition of a reasonable time frame? I mean, we're talking about encryption algorithms right now that standard computing would take millions of years to break. And so if you can break those encryption algorithms in 6 months, for some types of data, that's a threat that's concerning. For other data that may not be. But that time will only shorten as we go forward.
Talking a little bit more about that timeline, in your opinion, what is the timeline until D-Day, when we hit that quantum apocalypse?
Yeah, well, it's not a fixed date for all information. I mean, there's, one of the concerns that, I have as a security professional is hackers can start recording information now. And, if it takes 10 years before before quantum computing advances to where they could decrypt that information, for certain types of communication, that's a problem already. So in some cases or some scenarios, you could say that we've already started to hit that date. So if you're talking about super critical secrets that need to remain protected for 20 or 30 years, well, then we already have a problem, because if somebody gets their hands on that data, they record it, then they can record that in the future, and that could be problematic. For other data, that's only valuable for a short period of time. If you think of, my online banking transactions, well, I don't want anybody stealing that information, but if they record that information now and are able to break that encryption 10 years from now, well, hopefully by then I've changed my my online banking passwords and it's not a problem. So a lot of it depends upon how long you need to keep the data safe. Is this data that needs to be safe and protected for 20 minutes between the time that the data is created, it's sent from the device. If we look in the industrial, industrial use cases, if you've got a sensor that's collecting data, sending it up to a cloud platform where it's used to make real-time decisions to change, production flows or other real-time decisions. Well, that data probably only needs to be secure for days or weeks. So for that data, it's not quite as critical. But for data, again, that has to be protected for years and years, we've already started to reach a point where that's critical.
Do you have an example of what that type of data is in the industrial space that would need to be protected for years and years? I mean, is it specific to banking, or is it sort of other proprietary information?
Yeah, so that part of the problem is probably less of a concern in the industrial space. Most of the industrial data is produced and consumed in real time and is used to make decisions, on either in real time or in a near term perspective. It's really more, if you look at government secrets and other data that has a very long lifetime that needs to be protected, that's really where that part of the problem is a bigger issue.
Well, I mean, to that point, we have a lot of readers and a lot of people that are watching this now that have government contracts and, very, secretive, do a lot of work with medical device manufacturers, stuff like that. So I could see that definitely being something that needs to be protected.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so if is it the operational data that's collected by a sensor versus information on designs for military, equipment? So,
Mhm.
but that's only half the equation.
Okay.
Half the equation is how long does the data need to be protected. The other half of it is how long does the equipment that you're building today, how long is it going to exist and be used in the field?
Mhm.
So, we're producing equipment today that's going to be used 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And so,
Hopefully, if they're doing it right, right?
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, not everything is, but many the laptop I'm using right now to talk to you, I probably get a new laptop every 4 years or something like that, right? So,
Mhm.
um, that's less. That doesn't have the same lifetime of the equipment running our electric grid, the medical devices, all the industrial equipment. So that equipment is going to. We're building it today. We're putting it in the field next year. It's still going to be in the field 10 years from now when quantum computing will have advanced to a point where it can break these encryption algorithms.
So, what is the timeline for quantum safe crypto solutions?
Yeah, okay, great question. So that's something that's really fairly well advanced at this point.
Mhm.
We being the industry as a whole, and NIST have been working towards building quantum safe computing or quantum safe crypto algorithms, for quite a few years now. And there are algorithms that are available that have been tested. We're fairly close to having standards for what those algorithms are, and we'll probably have standardized algorithms within the next 12 to 18 months. I think NIST is saying at this point 2022 is when they expect to have the first set of standardized algorithms, but there are a number of candidate algorithms already, so people can start implementing solutions using the candidate algorithms today.
I mean, talking about implementing stuff today, why do industrial OEMs or OEMs in general need to act now?
Well, really, it's all the things we've talked about,
Mhm.
already on this, right? Those
Right.
devices are going to be in the field long after the point in which quantum computing can break these algorithms, can break these security systems. And so, the sooner we can get devices into the field that support the new encryption algorithms that are resistant to quantum computing attacks, the better.
Is this something, you know, is this something where the technology used for the attacks is always going to outpace encryption technology?
Great question. So, yes and no, and I'll explain that a little bit. I mean, the encryption algorithms that we're using today, RSA, has been around for many years already. I don't even know for sure uh, when it was first invented, but I was studying it in college in the late '80s, and it wasn't brand new at that point. So, so it's been so the encryption algorithms that we have that have been effective, have been in place for decades and been effective for decades. So, what we're seeing really is kind of a revolutionary new set of ways of attacking that with quantum computers, and that isn't something that happens all the time. So
Mhm.
so in some regards, the encryption technologies that we've had have really performed well, have stood the test of time, and it's just this new um, this new threat with a revolutionary computing mechanism that threatens that. On the other hand, over the years, while the fundamentals of RSA haven't changed, we have increased the bit length on RSA encryption algorithms, and there have been other types of crypto solutions that have been deprecated because they weren't strong enough anymore.
Mhm.
SHA-1 hashing is an example. There that's been deprecated. It's been shown to have attacks that allow it to be compromised. But there have been easy replacements or kind of natural upgrades, to those solutions.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate the insight. I'm really looking forward to our next conversation. The fourth episode in this series is on, you mentioned NIST earlier, but NIST's post quantum cryptography program. So looking forward to that next week. For Alan Grau, I'm David Mantey, and this is the Industrial Equipment News Quantum Computing Quantum Apocalypse series. Thank you, Alan.
Thanks, David.